Welcome back to the channel. We're once again working on our 2018 Ram Promaster City. You buy a Fiat, you're going to be fixing it a lot. So we took it out and had it fixed after we had that little coyote incident, just basically so I could get my air conditioning back. I really didn't care what it looked like, but I wanted my air conditioning. And it was great for a couple weeks. And then it slowly started getting warmer and warmer. Now, can't blame the body shop on this one. Can't even blame Fiat on this one. No, this is more of a case of the climate that I live in and the climate where this car came from. So the diagnosis goes like this. There was an oil slick on the ground. I jacked it up, followed that oil slick straight up, and it was a compressor, soaked in oil. Didn't need a UV light or anything. It was pretty obvious it was green. So we're gonna go ahead and change our compressor. It's actually the seals where the compressor is pressed together. Corrosion gets in there and it just leaks past it. So we're gonna go ahead and throw a new compressor in it. Now, Scott's ProMaster Emporium actually had a compressor at one time, but that guy sold it for way too much money, so it was actually more than a new compressor cost me. So I'm still money ahead, although I did have to wait a little bit longer and deal with the hot temperatures we've had lately. But luckily it did cool off a little bit, so before it gets hot again, let's get a compressor in this thing so I can have air conditioning back. Looks pretty easy. Let's find out if it is. First thing we have to do is remove the wheel and tire and our lug bolts, also hold our wheel cover in. I don't know why they use lug bolts. It's a European thing. I'm used to studs and lug nuts. So much easier to line the wheel up and put it on. And look who showed up. Now we're going to pull our wheel liner out. A bunch of screws. And there's a couple little plastic nuts in there. We'll turn those off by hand so we don't melt them. We'll also put them back on by hand for the same reason. Pull the liner off the studs. A couple more screws in the bottom of the bumper. Now we're going to pry it out of here. It's tucked behind the bumper. I'm not going to take the whole thing out, just the front half. So it's free. Now we just need to get it out of our way. Just fold it here and stick it up on the brake rotor. Now we can pull this other shield off. Part of this shield is held in with that wheel liner, and it just has these two little bolts in it. And now we can see our compressor. A little wet there. Be able to take a better look at it when it's out on the ground. Since our wheel liner's out of the way, we can get to our belt tensioner. And slip the belt off of our compressor. We'll just tuck the belt up here, try and leave it on all the pulleys, but I'm sure it'll fall off eventually and we'll have to put it back on. We're going to pull our AC lines off. We don't have to worry about any holes in the ozone. That's already leaked out all of its Freon. There's absolutely no pressure in here. We'll get our socket in there. We have to use a swivel on it. There's not a whole lot of room. We're just going to break it loose. And slowly spin it out of there. Using the caveman method. I don't want to use any power tools on this because with that swivel in there, it'll just tear things up. Take our time and not break anything. Pull our lines off. Set them off to the side. That looks like a good spot for them. Not a whole lot of room down there. We can pull all of our bolts off of our compressor. There's 3. We'll start with the hard to get to ones on the top. The bottom one's real easy to get to. We'll leave that for last. We'll spin it out the rest of the way by hand so we don't end up getting our ratchet jammed in there. One down. One more up here. Risk getting our ratchet stuck in there. And now the last bolt, at least I think it is. Break it loose. Got to make the face or it won't come loose. I leave the easiest bolt for last, or at least the one I think is last. Yep, it is. That way we're not trying to fight with the ones that are hard to get to and the compressor at the same time. This one it's nice and easy to get to, so you can fight with the compressor and have less struggle. We'll lower it down a little bit. Still need to get to the connector. Unplug the clutch. There it is. Unplug that. It's easier to do it now than when the compressor's still in there because you can't even see that plug. Our compressor is out. Now we can get a better look at all the green fuzzy stuff all over it. Fuzzy stuff is just the corrosion. The green is the dye from the oil that's in the Freon. Refrigerant. Whatever you want to call it. And there's our new one. It isn't green yet. We'll see how long this one lasts. They look the same. I think we're ready to put them in. Before we do, we're going to break this loose. It's just a cap for shipping so that nothing gets in it. We're not going to take it all the way out. I'm just going to get it ready to come out. We'll leave it in there. That way nothing will get into our compressor while we're trying to put it in here. But if you don't break that loose and it's a struggle, it's better to do it when it's on the floor than in the car. Plug the compressor in first. Stuff it up there. We're going to get the easy to get to bolt on the bottom first, so it kind of holds it in place for us. Actually, I'm going to put the one on the top first just to make sure I can get it in there. And it went right in, so I'm just going to go ahead and screw it in. Sometimes it can be hard to get the bolts in between the radiator fan and the compressor, so I just wanted to make sure I could get that one in first. We can throw on our easy to get to one on the bottom. I'll snug up the top one since the bottom was in there. And we'll put our other top one in. Get it started a couple threads. And we'll run it in with our air ratchet. Instead of running it in with the air ratchet and making our own threads if it happened to be cross-threaded. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this other one all the way up since we got all of our bolts started. And tighten the last one down at the bottom here. Click. Now we're ready to throw our belt back on. Pull the tensioner back. Can't quite get the belt all the way on, so just kind of looped around the edge and held it. Repositioned the wrench on the tensioner and pulled it a little further, and that was enough to get enough slack to get our belt all the way on all the pulleys. Check and make sure it's on all the pulleys. We're good to go. Also, the first splash shield on. If we can figure out where it goes. Start our bolts. And tighten them up. Now we can put our wheel liner back in here. Fold it up. Stuff it behind the bumper. And stuff the bottom of it up on top of the bumper. One tab of the wheel liner that goes into that lower valance that doesn't want to cooperate. It's going to. We got it behind there. Put our little plastic nuts on there. We'll tighten those up by hand. Then we'll start running all the screws in. Take a little peek in our trap door. It's conveniently located so you can change the fog lights that it doesn't have. Oh, we'll just put the cover back on there. And now we can throw our wheel back on. This is not as bad as a lot of them are. This one at least has a little alignment pin. It kind of helps hold it in. Make sure we got our wheel cover on the right way. And put all of our lug bolts in. Torquing on the manufacturer specs. Now I'm going to change the sealing washers on our AC lines so that hopefully the refrigerant stays in the car. Pop the old ones off with a pick. And there's a little bit of corrosion in there, so we're going to go ahead and scrape that out of there. Just so that we don't have any problems with it sealing. Comes off pretty easy. And one line comes out of the other ones. We're going to knock most of this off. Hopefully none of it ends up in the line. And we'll just go ahead and separate our lines. Corroded on there. Should just slide right in. I win. Go ahead and clean up the corrosion that was in there. Now we're just going to wipe off all the green fuzzies that we scraped off with our pick. Wipes right off if you broke it all loose. Look at this guy, wearing gloves and cleaning. Who is he? I don't know if I like the direction this channel has gone. We're going to put a little grease in there, hopefully to keep it from corroding, keep the water out of there. Not going to hurt anything. Might help. At least make it easy for the next guy when the compressor corrodes. Slide our line in there. Goes in a little easier than it came out. Now we'll go ahead and put some more grease on the rest of it. Try not to get it in the line. Alright, Picasso. It's good. Get that last little bit of grease out of there so it doesn't end up in our compressor. Not that I think it would hurt it, but it's not supposed to be in there. Slip our sealing washers over there. And yes, there's the old ones and the new ones right next to it, because I know we have trust issues, and I have been accused of not putting new ones on before. I will unscrew the shipping cap from our compressor and then pull it out of there. It's vacuum packed for freshness, so it doesn't just fall out. Unless I was trying to put it in there with it not bolted in, then it would definitely fall out and stuff would get in the compressor. We got our cap off with only one rubber plug. The other one fell out the bottom. It's on the ground waiting for us later. We'll tuck the line down in there and plug it in. And then we're going to try and get the bolt in here. Hands are a little too big for this. We got the socket in there, the swivel, and our bolt. Now we just got to get it started. Need to get it started going in there straight, because if we try and start it with the extension on there, it'll never go in. We'll be making our own threads for sure. We're going to spin it in as far as we can by hand, just to make it easier. It's kind of a bad angle for the extension. Gone as far as we can by hand, so now it's time to use some tools. First we got to try to get the extension into our socket, and then we'll snug it up. Should be good. We'll get our socket back out of here. And now since it's up on the jack stands, we might as well go ahead and change the oil. It's due. Besides, I need to trigger the internet experts. And if you don't understand how an oil change could be triggering, welcome to the YouTube comments. Grab our torque rag. Seems that the last guy that put that filter on over tightened it. Apparently Hercules didn't have his torque rag calibrated correctly. Use our drain pan so that we hopefully catch a drop or two of this oil before it ends up on the driveway. Never mind the dents in the oil pan. Those just add character. It's not from running over anything, It's from when the engine was sitting on the shelf. It's not gonna hurt anything, so I just left it alone. Let the triggering begin. A Fram filter, how could you? Actually, I even paid extra just for the pure pleasure of being able to trigger all the internet experts. The ones from the parts store are actually cheaper, but nobody loses their mind when I install those. We'll tighten that down to manufacturer specs. And we'll get our torque rag just to check it. Click. We'll go ahead and clean up our mess because we do that now, I guess. Throw our oil plug back in. Everything's right out in the open. Nothing's hidden. Easy to get to. Pretty much anybody can do this oil change without screwing it up. Except for maybe take 5. Click. But we'll discuss how you could screw up this simple oil change like that in an upcoming video. No more housekeeping. Now we can throw some oil back in it. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but business has been pretty good. I can even afford a funnel now. And good oil to go with our cheap oil filter. That's right. We've got to get every drop of this oil. Business isn't that good. I'm still poor. Spent all my money on funnels. In the pile. Pour a funnel out of there. I know what you're thinking, but Scott, it takes 5.5 quarts of oil, and not only so I put 5 in. Don't worry, I put the other 5 in too, because, well, if 5 is good, 10 must be better. Girl math for oil changes, and I can go twice as long on an oil change now. Now I added the other half a quart. It's topped off. Now all I gotta do is charge our AC, and hopefully I can enjoy it. Our air conditioning's working great. It's nice and cool in there. Actually, it's downright cold in there. So as long as we can manage to avoid the coyotes and avoid the salt, we should be okay since we have a brand new compressor and a brand new condenser. Now, the only thing I really have left to do to it is throw our passenger seat back in. As much as I like the extra space for longer items and just tossing things on the floor, I have a whining coming from that area. It's mostly due to the pizza girl that already doesn't like this thing. All I hear now is, this milk crate is really uncomfortable, and I don't think a ratchet strap is a suitable replacement for a seatbelt. I don't know what she's complaining about. I upgraded from the bungee cord. But to keep her happy, I think I'm gonna throw a seat back in here. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Well, that got shot down as well. Done. Next, she'll want me to bolt it in.